Good morning, viewers at home. Welcome to the program, SuperDawn. I am Vera Super with you today.
And I am Anthony Josiah. On this edition, good morning to the world. Good morning, Vera.
Good morning to all of you. Well, today we want to look at something very important. We're looking at the implications of the executive and the legislative conflict on good governance. We know that if you take the legislators out, when we're talking about good governance, you are actually you're talking about dictatorship, and we don't want civilian dictatorship. So the legislators are supposed to be a check on the executives. And so we want to look at all the issues surrounding the executive and the legislatures, because if they don't have a cordial relationship, it's going to affect good governance. So that's what we're going to be doing today on this program. And of course, we're going to go through the papers. But we'll go on this break now. And when we come back, we want to take some stories in the papers this morning.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed, now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
Welcome back. It's the newspaper review segment this morning, Friday morning. It's a weekend. The weekend is here, and we want to take Daily Trust this morning. And we have here Punch Chairman Wale Abodunrin dies at 60. And we also have here the Gora heads and PDP's reconciliation team. A select committee made up of the top presidency officials and 5 members from a fraction of the ruling All Progressive Congress APC will start sitting on Monday to resolve the dispute which is threatening the tiers of the party. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's only right that a committee has been set up to, yes, like is written in papers, settle the tiers and the affairs, the conflicts of these things happening in a party. I believe that a party should be unified, and that is a good way to go.
Okay, that's a good way to go. We also have here, Senate reject 1, confirms 4 CBN board members. Senate reject 1 and confirm 4 CBN governors. Okay, Senate yesterday confirmed 4 out of the 5 nominees of President Muhammadu Buhari for the Board of Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN. The Senate rejected nomination of Dr. Abdul Abubakar, representing Northwest Zone, saying he failed integrity test. Those confirms are Umar Ahmed Jalingo, Northeast, Justina Odika Kwashuku Nabubu, Southeast, Mike Wan Obanda, South, and we have Adeola Adetunji, Southwest. Chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions, Senator Rafiu Ibrahim, as the APC Kwara, said these confirmed nominees displayed adequate knowledge of operation of the CBN, saying they are fit to be non-executive directors of the CBN. We also have here in the papers, it says here, election sequence bill resurfaces in the House of Reps. The bill that sought to amend the Electoral Act to alter sequence of elections in the country has resurfaced in the House of Representatives. Following President Muhammadu Buhari's rejection of the amendment of the Electoral Act which included an attempt to change election sequence. Both the chambers of the National Assembly reintroduced the bill on April 8. We also have this morning. EFCC secures 647 convictions in 3 years, coming from officials. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission secured 647 financial crimes convictions from November 2015 till date. Okay, we take this other one too in the papers. I think we're going to take this. Army intercepts 3 trucks with 300,000 cartridges. Why we suspended strike? Joe suits. Also, we also have this. Airline operators threatening to stop VAT payments in June 14.
Wow, we just hope they don't. Anyway, this one says, from the newspaper, the Nation's newspaper, it says here, Nigeria's exports grows by 60%. I'll just take a few paragraphs. It says, Nigeria's exports appreciated by 59.9% between 2016 and 2017, the federal government said yesterday. Tax revenue jumped by 51% last year. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and Minister of Budget and Planning, Udoma, gave the figures at the FT Nigeria Summit on dispelling uncertainty and building resilience in Lagos State.
Yes.
Now that is a good one, if you'd ask me. It's rather better off when the country is exporting more than is importing. Right?
Okay, I know that it's good to export, but first, you must have enough in the country. When you're exporting, it's business trade. But we must have enough overflow in-house here first. And that's why the government is really particular about agriculture. And You've seen what they're doing. They're giving soft loans to people so that they can go into agriculture and have enough food security.
I think, yes, agriculture is one sector, the Nigerians. We are rich in agriculture, not just oil. Agriculture is something...
but the government also needs to make it a bit affordable. What I mean is give out more loans. Maybe you can actually give lands to people that want to farm.
That is it.
And help people out. It's not easy. Agriculture is not that cheap when you want to go into farming. It's not that cheap as we think. You need to
agriculture
get a lot of
things to do with seasonal products and the rest. So if you don't do it now, it can't be done till the next season. This one says, Buhari to youth, resume your campaign after 2019. The youth got a pleasant gift yesterday from President Muhammadu Buhari. He signed the Not Too Young to Run bill into law at the State House in Abuja. He jokingly asked the youths to shift their campaigns until next year's election. What do you have to say?
I think you need to read it. I don't know what to say, but you need to read it in full.
Okay, this one says, okay, just continue the story. It says, but please, can I ask you to postpone your campaigns till after the 2019 elections? He told his guests, who clapped and laughed.
Well, this is funny. Election is here. And so lots of things come up. But the president
he says here, jokingly. So
signing the Not Too Young to Run bill, for me, that's commendable. Where young people will have to come out. You must show your potentials. You must let them know that you have integrity, what it takes to give, what it takes to rule and lead. I think this is the time that we all need. We've seen young people coming out that want to be the president of this country. And I think more people also should come to take over the National Assembly and the House of Representatives. It is the time. And I think the time is right now for us to take over.
Yes, the youths. This one says, Senate urges NSA to submit funding request. The Senate yesterday held over 2 hours meeting with the National Security Advisor, General Babangana Monguno, over mounting insecurity. The closed-door meeting was part of the security briefing the upper chamber held with security chiefs last week. After the meeting, Senate President Bukola Saraki said Monguno answered questions bordering on security insurgencies, terrorism, kidnapping, coordination of the security agencies, and the killings in the country. Saraki said, and I quote, "Thereafter, we directed that he submits a funding request similar to other heads of security agencies that had come before us, and to submit considerations where relevant amendments to existing laws involving security agencies need for consideration." Now that is a good one. The Senate is asking the NSA, submit your funding request. And we just hope that the country, the federal government, is able to fund the NSA, because the insecurity in Nigeria is that sector we need to lay more focus on to move the country forward. And this one says, Johesu suspends 6-week strike. The members of the Joint Health Sector Unions, Johesu, have suspended their 6-week nationwide strike. The suspension was with effect from yesterday. The health workers had proceeded on a nationwide job boycott. I'll take that again. The health workers had proceeded on a nationwide job boycott on the midnight of April 17, following an alleged federal government's inability to honor agreements between both parties.
Well, jet suits had been on strike for 43 days now, and they were not happy because the federal government couldn't meet their demands, and so they have to go back to work. I don't know why. It's been the case between the minister and also these people, but I just pray that they resolve it well.
Okay, the last one I'll be taking from the Nation's newspaper here says, Assembly by election, Ajimobi, others rally support for APC candidates.
Well, moving away from that, we want to take some stories in the Punch this morning. If you get hold of the Punch, it's not the normal front views you see. You know, Punch, where they put the Punch, usually is colored in red, but today in black because they lost their chairman. And so they are mourning, really. We have this first story here. It says 2019. EFCC asks banks for corrupt customers list. Wow, this is coming strong from the EFCC. The acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, has asked banks to provide a list of unscrupulous customers ahead of 2019 general election. A statement by EFCC spokesman, Mr. Wilson Owajeri, quoted Magu as saying this in Lagos on Tuesday during an interactive session with the Association of Chief Compliance Officers of Banks in Nigeria. The FCC boss said this would help curb the level of corruption in the country, adding that many banks were already on the verge of collapse due to activities of unscrupulous individuals. So EFCC is saying, give us the list of corrupt customers. We also have in the papers this morning, declare Senate's insistence on my appearance illegal. IGP tells court. The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Ibrahim Idris, has urged the Federal Court in Abuja to declare unconstitutional the Senate's insistence that he must appear for a legislative hearing in person. Well, the IGP went to court, and we want to see how that will come out. We've read that in other stories, but we'll take it here. It says, health workers slam federal government, suspend 43-day strike. You need to get hold of the Punch newspaper this morning, and you'll read more on that. Solution to Osun problem not automatic. One of the governorship aspirants on the platform of the All Progressive Congress in Osun State, Mr. Kule Adekoke, has said that the solution required to turn the state around will not be automatic. Well, maybe a solution for that. We also have this, and it says, court recognizes Ladiron as Ladoke's Akintola's son. There have been controversies over that for some time now. Abga attacks Okorocha, says governor worse than a prodigal son. And the writer says, you are a mushroom party, Okorocha. The national chairman of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, Chief Victor Oye, on Thursday asked the Imo State Governor, Okorocha Rochas, to stay away from Abga. He described the overturn allegedly being made by Okorocha to rejoin the APGA to advance his political interests as dead on arrival. Describing Okorocha as worse than a prodigal son, Oye said the Imo governor was an ingrate and that he bit the finger that fed him. Well, not a disagreement here. Buhari urges West African nations to unite against insurgency. President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday said it appeared West African countries were underestimating the impact of cross-border influences on the rising threat of insurgents and bandits in the sub-region. This is as the Kwara State Governor, Alhaji Ahmed, warned that the $1 billion to be deducted from the SS Crude account to fight insurgency should be diverted for political purposes. Okay? Obaseki's wife's planned farmers market for women. The wife of the Edo State Governor, Mrs. Betsy Obaseki, on Thursday said plan had been concluded to organize a monthly farmers market for over 3,000 female farmers in the state. I wish I'm there. I would have loved to be part. You're going to get loads of cheap goods there.
Agricultural development there. That's a good one. That's
yes.
a good one. Especially for women.
Yes.
Women empowerment.
Okay, we have this. Buhari to youth. Don't contest presidency till after 2019. But that wasn't there. You know, he said it jokingly. And maybe I need to read it. Very interesting. President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday asked youth who might be eyeing a seat to postpone their campaigns till after the 2019 presidential election. The Nigerian leader, who has already indicated interest in seeking a fresh 4 years mandate in 2019, made the appeal shortly after signing the much publicized Not Too Young to Run bill into law at the presidential villa in Abuja. The new law reduces the eligible age for those seeking to be members of the State House of Assembly and the House of Representatives from 30 to 25 years, and those aspiring to be president from 40 to 35 years of age. I'm interested in this, you know, knowing fully well that if you're 30 or 35 rather, you can actually contest. You can want to run, and I want to see it happen.
You know, leadership is about skill sets, it's about foresight, it's about integrity, you know, you being able to lead. It's not really about age. I wouldn't believe that, yes, experience actually counts, you know, but at the end of the day, when you see the biggest CEOs in the world, they actually started at a very young age. And
no, even in Nigeria, some of the leaders, our past leaders, started early. So one begins to wonder what the idea of waiting until you are. Now you can actually, you can come out if you're 35.
And 35 is a good age if it asks me.
Because it's an adult already.
That is it.
Matured adult. We have this here in the papers. Reps reject e-voting, outlaw manual accreditation. The House of Representatives on Thursday again rejected electronic voting in the country's elections. By implication, voters will not use electronic machines to cast their ballots. The lawmakers took the decision in Abuja as they reconsidered the Electoral Act bill as amended 2018. The long title of the bill reads, A Bill for an Act to Amend the Provision of Electoral Act Number 6, 2010 to further improve the electoral process and for related matters. So right now they are saying that, hey, there's no need for the machine stuff. Okay, that's all we can take for this. No, not that all. This is very important. It's a weekend. I must take this. Wow. Battered wife stabbed husband to death in Lagos.
Wow. Again.
That's why I said I must take this again. I don't know how we're going to sensitize the public, how we're going to be addressing women and men, husband and wife. And this is becoming too much.
Too much. Well, this actually happens every day. If you put your ears to the streets, we hear lots of reports where domestic violence causes death, even in marriages. It's just that recently, I think the newspaper, the journalists are more proactive to reporting cases like this, so the people could be aware. And I think there should be stiff measures to this, because this
I think it's becoming unbecoming. I think this is not. I don't know how, but let me read the story. It says a teacher, Bimbola Olamide, has been arrested by policemen from Lagos State Police Command for allegedly stabbing her husband, Dari Akimbobola, to death at their residence in the Ikorodu area of Lagos State. The Punch Metro gathered that there was an argument between the couple on Wednesday, which degenerated into a fight. In the ensuing brawl, Olamide was said to have stabbed her 28-year-old husband with a knife, killing him in the process. I don't know what will make you that angry. You know, when people begin to get violence, begin to get physical, you wonder where they're coming from. What end? Who trained you? What point? What's your formation? It's very important that parents, we need to inculcate discipline and perseverance. It's a training. It's a skill that you need to begin to teach your words, your children. Because if they face the future, lots of things will happen if they are not well trained.
Yes, because when you go out there, when the youths go out there, they are being influenced by their environments. And if you go to take, for instance, you know, right now, even the last people I took, I saw a cultism story where people got killed by cultists. And you tend to look at it like, what amounts to that incident? Why would someone take someone's life over what? You know, so I think wonder if you are able to, like you said, train your child, you know, inculcate that habit or that fear of God, that fear of where you're coming from. You know, you should at least, when you try to get, when the environment tries to influence you, you should have a rethink.
Well, I don't know how. Like, I know that there are loads of vices, virtues out there. There are loads of friends, peer pressure out there. But I still believe in parenting. You know, if you're well grounded, there's this fear. If my father hears me, if my mother hears this kind of story, my family members, my cousin, is it in your family? You know, you begin to, there's this fear in it, it's in it, and you don't want to stain the family's name. But once you don't even give a hook, I think it's the way you, even if you're being influenced, you can't be influenced. What you hear, the church, what they're teaching you, that's if you listen. Some people just go on Sunday and that's all. But if you follow very strong teachings, you won't see yourself in that. Why would you? Some people tell you, I've heard people that say, I have a hot temper. It means that person, yeah. You say you have hot, I'm hot-tempered. Someone will, I'm boasting, I'm hot-tempered. If you try me, I'm going to, you know, it's so archaic. It's so backwards. When you begin to post that you have hot-tempered, you can, it shouldn't be something you should be boasting about.
Now, when you look at this, you know, it's between a man and a woman that are married. Marriage. Do you think we need more marriage counselors? Because the way these things are happening recently, and it's between married couples.
Well, it's scary.
And it's just funny.
Why should you stop the person you prefer to love? You know, you say, I love you. And after loving that person, you don't want to see the person again. Maybe you need to take that story because it's so touching.
Okay, this one from the New Telegraph newspaper we have here. Stock markets post 1.1 trillion naira loss in May. A headline says here, Senate rejects Buhari's nominee for CBN job for failing integrity test. This one says, don't run for presidency, Buhari begs youths. And that's on page 3 of the New Telegraph newspaper. And this one says, ex-VC, Unilag professor in sex scandal. Okay,
we'll go on this break now, a quick break. And when we come back, we'll take more stories in the News Telegraph. Please stay with us.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sports, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed. Now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us. SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed. Now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
Welcome back. We're still on the newspaper review, but we'll take some of the stories.
Okay, this one here says Dangote tasks private sector and women empowerment. President of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, has urged private sector operators and governments at all levels to adequately empower women as a means of poverty reduction. Okay. Dangote said once women have been successfully empowered to support their homes and families, poverty will gradually become a thing of the past. And
you have some headlines?
Yes. I've taken all the headlines here. I'm trying to take a few in the papers. This one here says, which it will be the last of today's. It says Melaya seeks Buhari's apology over demeaning comments on the NAS, which we're talking about anyway today. The Senate's House.
Okay, that's what we can go. That's how we can go for this segment. Up next, we want to look at the executives and the legislative conflicts affecting good governance. How do you think they need to go about that relationship instead of causing this make-believe, or so to speak, body language that there's a disconnect or the relationship is not healthy? We'll be right back after this break.
Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which has potent medicinal properties. Garlic is a plant in the allium onion family. It is closely related to onions, shallots, and leeks. It grows in many parts of the world and is a popular ingredient in cooking due to its strong smell and delicious taste. This compound is known as allicin and is also responsible for the distinct garlic smell. Allicin enters the body from the digestive tract and travels all over the body where it exerts its potent biological effect. Garlic is a plant in the onion family, grown for its cooking properties and health effect. Garlic supplementation is known to boost the function of the immune system. Studies shows that a daily garlic supplement reduced the number of colds by 63% compared with placebo. Cardiovascular diseases like heart attacks and strokes are the world's biggest killers. High blood pressure or hypertension is one of the most important drivers of these diseases. Human studies have found garlic supplementations to have a significant impact on reducing blood pressure in people with high blood pressure. Effects on longevity are basically impossible to prove in humans, but given the beneficial effect on important risk factors like blood pressures, it makes sense that garlic could help you live longer. The fact that it can fight infectious disease is also an important factor because these are common causes of death, especially in elderly people with dysfunctional immune systems. Garlic has known beneficial effects on common causes of chronic diseases, so it makes perfect sense that it could help you live longer. Garlic was one of the earliest performance-enhancing substances. It was traditionally used in Asian cultures to reduce fatigue and enhance the work capacity of laborers. The last one is not the health benefit, but still important. It is the fact that it is very and easy to include garlic in a current diet. It complements most savory dishes, particularly soups and sauces. The strong taste of garlic also adds a punch to otherwise bland recipes. Garlic comes in several forms, from whole cloves and smooth pastes to powders and supplements like garlic extract and garlic oil. The minimum effective dose for therapeutic effect is 1 clove.
Welcome back. Where we want to look, we said earlier the topic, we want to look at the implications of the executive and the legislators' conflicts on good governance. It's very important because these two arms of government are very important in governance, especially where one has to checkmate the other to make sure that we have good governance, to make sure that the citizenry are in good state. But looking at every issue that has happened recently, since the return of democracy 19 years ago, will one really say that they are working together? But today in this program, we have our guest. We have Barrister Richard Nwankwo. He is the president founder of Crusade for Justice. Good morning to you, Barrister.
Good morning and welcome, viewers.
You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Barrister, we're looking at the implications of conflict between these two arms of government. Would you say that since the return of democracy, it has been a steady relationship?
Well, I think it's a mixed kind of result, and you must also appreciate the fact that that is the beauty of constitutional democracy, that in human existence you can't take away the issue of contention. And of course there are mechanisms for resolving some of these issues. And the most important fact we must advert our mind to is the relevance of conflict in a constitutional democracy. That without conflict, it will be difficult for the arms to checkmate, themselves. We have the judiciary as an interpretative organ that looks at all that comes from the legislature and the executive. And of course, you appreciate the fact that the executive has some measure of, the legislature has some measure of oversight functions. And these things are meant to trim down the excesses of the executive. You can't rule out conflict in a constitutional democracy. And for me, I believe that this is a filtering process. It allows you to test the principle and the determination of the elements and the characters in government. And for every conflict, of course, there's a counterpart opportunity for you to move forward. And that is what I think we should focus on, the fallout, the positive fallouts of such conflicts.
But will it take adverse effect on the integrity of democracy?
You see, the problem we have in our own is because of the culture of our political gladiators. If you try to look at what happens in other jurisdictions, you find out that the mere fact that somebody is in politics raises a lot of positive presumptions that this person is of good character, that this person has some measure of morality in him, that is a man of finesse, an individual of finesse and culture. These are presumptions that are imbued in the Constitution, especially in some other jurisdictions, where people even run away from politics because of the fact that you run personal expenses. Like a place, like example is Canada. Of course, you know that the government has been appealing to people to come and join politics, but everybody appears to be adamant. The reason being that once you are in politics, you end up spending your own money, because the system is absolutely strict about management of resources. But of course, there are some inbuilt loopholes in our own constitutional democracy, and that is why the contest is fierce. And you find out that just like Nigerians trying to go to Europe through Libya and some of these dangerous countries up north, the movement within our own political terrain is being propelled by the passion for green pastures. So people are looking for money, even in politics. And that is what underlines the conflict we've been having, because these conflicts are not principle driven, they are not based on patriotic tendencies. Most of them are naira driven, and when you have an environment like that, it's difficult to see how these things will impact positively on political governance.
Looking at the legislative arm specifically, the House of the Senate has been filled with lots of dramas recently. We've had the Bukola Saraki case. We've had recently we had the Jega case, where he alleged that the Senate House is filled with bribery. Would you say we have a very good, viable legislative arm as of now?
Well, if you want to look at the legislature as an isolated unit, you can't extract it from the entire political environment. Even the political followership is also not isolated from the mess. You see, but what is happening in the Senate is a true reflection of the Nigerian society. And like I have said, the structure, the Nigerian political structure is designed in such a way to empower people that have negative biases. And that is what is playing out.
Why did you say that?
No, the structure. I will give you some radical examples. Yes. If you look at our political structure, you find out that those people that are very, very powerful at the national level are absolutely and politically irrelevant in their geographical zones. The reason is that we have what I may call a cult leadership. Now, some of these people you see that are very powerful in Abuja, moving from one terrain to the other, that in their respective communities, nobody recognizes them. That is what the structure is all about. Because every community knows its own people. Every community knows its own
But
leaders.
you wanted to give us an example. I wanted that example from you.
No, I don't want to start mentioning names, but I'm just telling you that most of that is why when they go back to their regions and conduct elections, you find out that they will lose even in their own polling booths. These are people that have been made by the national structure of the Nigerian political environment. But they go to their villages, they contest for elections, they lose if right there in the polling booths right in front of their houses. But at the national level, they are giants, and you see them talking and moving from one location to the other. That is the structure I'm talking about. Political evolution evolves from your individual families, from your immediate communities, before you get to the national. Okay. In Nigeria, our own evolution comes from the national to the local. It's in a reverse form.
And why is it? Why is that?
Like I have said, the ground norm, the constitutional platform is grossly defective. When you have a defective constitutional ground norm, and in an attempt to purify it, we have organizations. Let me just talk about the anti-corruption agencies. These are agencies that are meant to purify the system. If you, for instance, have a very strong case, if the state has a very strong case against you and you want to run for election, they will say no, that you have been indicted, we have records. But you find out that these agencies don't have the independence. Like people talk about the National Assembly. The National Assembly is even an angel when you compare what is happening to the National Assembly in some states. Let's just look at what is going on in Imo State now, and you find out how things are being done there, and then you compare it to the National Assembly. We are talking about a generation of leaders that lack the moral unction to lead, and that is why we are in this sorry state. And I think the only solution to this is by building constitutional structures that are strong, that are independent, that can propel the entire system. But when you have these structures and their operations are selective, it whittles down even the essence of these institutions in the first place. Oh. So I think what is happening in the National Assembly is a huge minus to the political development in Nigeria, a huge minus to Nigeria as an entity, and a blemish on our political climate.
Okay, some people have said that if you look at the emergence of Dr. Bukola Saraki, the Senate President, the controversy surrounding his emergence that caused a lot of things in the House. Some had said that if you look down where senators stood down some of these executives' appointment, the president's appointment, Mago, for instance, and it's as if that two giants are fighting in the same home, and it's affecting governance in Nigeria. Do you think, because we also recently have a case study of Senator Dinon Milaye, do you think that this is proper? I've asked that question before, but looking at how Senator Bukola emerges, looking at all the allegations against him, the court rulings against him, and looking at even what recently Jega said concerning the House, can we continue like this? But I'll allow you to talk. We have an interview, we'll play, then we'll come back to the studios. Let's have this interview with Barrister Tony Daniel. Let's have it. Barrister, before we went on that break, we were talking about ideology. Do we have it in our parties in Nigeria? Do we have ideology?
No ideology among parties. We see members of a party. What we have is an arrangement that will give the individual politician convenience. That means if we have opportunity in this party, irrespective of, there's no ideology. Nobody's trading ideology here, because most of the people that are in APC today, they were in PDP. And we've been seeing a lot of people move fuel. This money comes to me. Okay, but because of time, looking at all of these things and looking at the Senate, people decamping from one party to the other, do you think we should have maybe a law that will not permit you move from one party to the other? Is it going to help out? No. There's a constitution already. You have a right to choose which party you want to take. What we are saying is that you don't force ideology on people. If they are principled, and like we have in advanced country, like US, people are consistent, people are in their party, people believe in the political ideology of their party, and they support it, they pursue it. Has any politician among those that have won, that have lost, that have decamped severally, talked about any political ideology? What is the political ideology of APC? What is the political ideology of PDP? Tell me. What they want to do, win. And win at all costs. Tell lies. Do what it takes to win. So, but Nigeria, we get there. Why I'm saying this is that I've looked at certain issues and challenges Nigerians were faced with and how they manage it. I will give you an example. Ebola. You saw the way Nigeria managed Ebola without regular light. Imagine if we have regular light, we would have done better. Okay. Now, apart from light, the infrastructure, the road should be walked upon so that people can move easily. Security, the one that is annoying Nigerians most, are the current threats to national unity by the Fulani S-men. As you are talking here, they are killing there as if they have the monopoly to kill. But if you had listened to the Democracy Day speech, the president said that they've done well in security. Well, if you talk about the fight against Boko Haram, to some extent, yes. To a very good extent, yes. If you talk of other violent crimes, well, we see here of kidnapping every time. they should use what they are using in Lagos State and in Abuja for all states. That will help security. Then the president.
What are they using for security? In
Lagos State, the governor he took security very seriously. Ambode is taking security very seriously. And fortunately, the current commission see gory pictures.
Are you saying the president is not showing concern? Is that what you're implying?
Results connotes concern. Let's see the result. Let's see a reduction in the killing. Let people start saying, for some time they have no attack. Let's see that people have been arrested. The way the IPOD was handled, that is the way the Fulani S-men ought to have been handled. So for the president to wait until almost being shocked by criticism and comment as regards the security issue as per the Fulani S-men, before he now started reacting, do you know that body language matters? When Buhari came in, his body language showed that he has zero tolerance for corruption. When the Fulani started attacking, he should have shown that he will not tolerate it.
But he said it, that he's not going to take it.
No. You see, when he was talking about IPOB, when IPOB was threatening elections, he said, soldiers started coming there, fears, and they took action. Nigerians supported, even some people.
Welcome back. Well, we had loads of issues there discussing with Barrister Tony Daniel, and we're going to come back to that issue. But when he started, we were looking at ideology in this party, where you saw I don't want to call it a drama. I don't want to call it a drama. In the House, many issues where the president will give these nominees and the Senate will say you're not going nowhere. And people have said this is part of democracy. But looking at all of these things, do you think both the executives and the legislators need to sit down and really address these issues?
Well, I think politics is all about conflict and compromise. So we'll see how some of these things will play out. And the most important thing is that we must appreciate the fact that there is a framework, and that framework is the constitution which we are currently operating. Whatever actions you do must be, in sync with the constitutional provisions, and if that is not done, then that is where we have a lot of cases coming out from every individual step taken either by the National Assembly or by the governors or by the executive. But I believe that what is important now is for all the arms of the government to work, to show some measure of cohesion, so that at least the polity will remain calm instead of heating it up. And we will see some measure of patriotic-driven decisions coming out from both the executive and from the National Assembly.
Okay, speaking of party defection and taking a cue from the interview which we just saw, we understand that, according to the lawyer, that parties should have ideologies. Now, coming into the Senate House, Dino Milai, though he has not officially defected, but at the Senate House, he said he was comfortable sitting at the opposition party's side. Now, when you look at this, he thanked the PDP for showing him support when he was in the hospital. Probably, well, I do not want to allege, but after thanking the PDP, he made that statement that he would like to be on the opposite side. Now, when you look at this, are we, as senators, are they supposed to be doing this party defection based on personals or the ideology of the party? And how do you see all of these scenarios?
Well, you see, first and foremost, we copied our own constitutional evolution, or the present constitution, from what is obtainable in the Western world. And of course, you know that in a democracy like ours, that the bulk of what happens, stops on the desk of the president. And of course, in the case of the Abubakar Atiku and the Attorney General of the Federation, the Supreme Court made it clear that National Assembly of national legislators, that is legislators in the Senate and the House of Representatives, and even at the state level, that they have the constitutional ambience to defect to other political parties. But it's only on a condition, and that condition is clearly spelled out in section 67, subsection 1G. The same thing applies to the State House of our state houses of assembly and is clearly provided under section 109 subsection G. The fact remains that parties have political leaders have the right, especially legislators have the right to move from one political party to another. But that is predicated on the fact that there must be kind of dispute in the party you are living. There must be some measure of political dispute, and once you establish before the court that there's some measure of political dispute, of course that makes it lawful for you to migrate from your own political party to another. But of course you know that it's the Senate President and the Speaker that have the right to declare somebody's seat vacant. So that is the contention, because many a time you see that there has been a surplusage of cases where some of these parties went to court asking the court to declare a particular seat vacant, and of course in most cases the court has declined. So what I'm saying in effect is that our own political system as we have it today has nothing to do with ideology. And I have told you that the movement of politicians from one party to the other can be likened to the movement of Nigerians from those going to Europe through Libya. They are moving in search of greener pastures. Most of these people are looking for greener pastures, even within the political machinery. And that is what is playing out. So we don't talk about ideology. You don't talk about integrity. You don't talk about integrity in Nigerian politics. People talk about integrity out of exaggerated ignorance, because there is nothing like integrity. If you ask me,
why do you say there's nothing like integrity?
If you ask me today to present my secondary school certificate and I go and hire 13 senior advocates to come to court and defend me and give me that coverage so that I won't present my certificate, and people are talking about integrity.
Okay. Let's just move. We started with Dino Milaye's case. Before we start talking about integrity, we saw where Dino was accused of, or was alleged of illegal possession of ammunitions, and this drama has continued for some time. A lot of times people had said that Senator Dino Milaye, he's been harassed because he's outspoken in the chambers, and according to what Anthony said, what really happened recently, he came in and asked the House to allow him sit on the opposition session, and he called one of them, said, "There's a general, Senator General David Mark, I want to sit with elders." With all of these things coming up in the House, is this not dramatic?
Well, politics is all about drama. But it's, in the civilized world, it's drama with integrity, with focus, with vision, with principle, and with deep-rooted ideology. But in Nigeria, we're having drama without integrity, without accountability, with absolute irresponsibility. So what we have here is a denigration of the culture of politics, an abuse of constitutional democracy, and of course, it's very repulsive to every right-thinking Nigerian that in this age that will still be treating politics as if it means nothing to the people. But this is an institution that is structured and designed, if not outside making laws, to checkmate the excesses of the executive. And they're not doing that.
But are you of the opinion that Senator Dino Milaye is being sorted after because of his outburst most times in the chamber?
No, you see, I've once said this before, that the worst form of injustice is selective justice. That is the worst form of injustice. Even if Dino Milaye is involved in gun running, is involved in a surplusage of criminal activities, the mere fact that the people who have been indicted before him, who are operating within the presidency, have not been touched, I mean, leaves much to be desired.
Maybe you need to be specific.
No, of course, there has been the grass-cutting allegation. Were they charged? In fact, what is even more painful is that the presidency set up a panel to investigate some of these activities. The presidency set up a panel to investigate criminal activities and allegations against people who operate within the confines of Asoro. But I will also go beyond that. It's not just these allegations, because when you have these allegations, just like anybody coming to that platform, you must live above board like Caesar's wife. We want people without blemish. If the Constitution says this is what is going to happen, why Is it difficult for the members of the National Assembly to raise the issue of the certificate of the presidency when that came up for the first time? It's a constitutional requirement, because if you look at all this is, you will find out that even the president was not even qualified to have contested for election under the constitutional framework we have today. The president is not qualified to have contested in the first place. So when you have a generation of impunities, lawlessness being made, factored into the constitution of a nation, then what do you expect the people to do? There has been agitation for creation to balance the creation of states in Nigeria, but what has the Senate done? What has the National Assembly done? What has the presidency done in order to mitigate these issues? Look at the appointments that have been made under this government. So these are issues. When people
but have you not seen what the president has done?
When people talk about Dino, I mean, they're just being comical. If you can appoint people to head all the security agencies, nobody sees anything wrong in that. And you look at the constitutional provision, especially Chapter 2 of our Constitution, that emphasizes federal character. And let me tell you, federal character was brought into the Constitution for the protection of the interests of the North, not the southern states.
Okay, Barrister. The President Muhammadu Buhari, recently made a speech, and he said that some members of the House of the National Assembly have been there for about 10 years, and he said, what have they done? Dino Melaye actually said that he alleged that he finds it more inappropriate the way it came out, saying that it undermines the duties and the image of the Senate. I want you to look at, take a cue from what the president said. In the past 10 years, would you say, I want you to review the Senate and the senators personally?
Well, I think, to be honest, if you ask me, I will give the Nigerian National Assembly a pass mark. Even though there are allegations of corruption, these allegations are now becoming cultural. There are more serious allegations on the part of the executive. There are allegations even on the part of the judiciary. Corruption is everywhere. The only challenge I have with corruption is that it's gaining more relevance by the day. And it appears it is now becoming cultural, part of our culture. Because there's no way anybody, reasonable person, can argue that corruption is not part of our culture anymore. It is part of our culture.
Must it remain there?
No, what I'm saying is that for you to fight corruption, you need somebody who has the disposition and the mindset and the spiritual drive to go against corruption. Listen, when killings are going on in the name of...
I'm going to hold you there. I'll allow you, but we have a caller. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I just want to commend you guys for what you are.
Thank you.
You brought this topic from point of ignorance. I'm sorry to say. The Constitution has specified it. For you to make claim that the president is not qualified within the framework of the Constitution. This is a man who contested 3 times in this country. Nobody raised an issue. Did he buy the place? Someone said, if you want to argue issues, if you are defending opinion, we should take you with good conscience. We should play our conscience when you are talking. Particularly when you are informing people. Let me give you an instance. My son went to teach for exam. Entrance to GSS1. And they said the person who won the election in 2015 was who? They put Jonathan, they put Buhari. But one of his friends, the person that he passed with, said he chose Jonathan because he's not. I mean, his mother told him that Buhari won, Jonathan won but he rigged the election. So it was Jonathan that he chose. It's a wrong thing for us to be informing people wrongly. You must, even if you don't like the president, let us take things the right way, so that we don't inform the generation with the wrong information. Otherwise, the country will continue to go wrong. The Constitution has stated the requirement for the president, O level or equivalent, Are you saying that the president doesn't have O-level? Then the Nigerian army that employed him should be asked, why did you get somebody who does not have O-level at least to become a general in this country? Please,
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, you heard what he said.
Yes, I think he was trying to reinforce the point I made, and that's a constitutional requirement, and that it is clear that the president does not have it. If he's saying anything,
Why did you say the president doesn't have it?
he has, up to today, that has not been produced. If he produces that, I will apply for a certified true copy from INEC. That has not been done. And at the last count, they briefed 13 senior advocates of Nigeria to defend that issue. And that was how it ended. I'm aware of the fact that the lawyer took up the issue in Abuja and he was hounded out of town. So
those are allegations. But let's move forward because of time. Those are allegations because we're not there and we've not heard of it.
Of course, you know there are some primitive tendencies in our political equation. You don't wish it away. There are primitive tendencies, and that is why you find out that once you become vocal against the government, everything about you becomes an issue.
But could it be because of what the government is doing right now? The president fighting against corruption headlong. He has said it during his democracy speech.
I've told you that the president is not fighting corruption.
So what is he fighting then? When we're seeing people...
When people say the president is fighting corruption, let me tell you, the worst... I've told you about injustice. There is no corruption that is worse, more dangerous, more demeaning than the appointments made by this present political leadership. The appointments made by the President Buhari is the worst, the most, I don't want to be harsh, but that is, I think it's a constitutional aberration. Because the position of the law is there. And I told you that the federal character was infused into the constitution to protect the interests of the North, not the interests of the South. There is no time in the history of Nigeria the southern states have lacked qualified people to propel the governance. And that is why, if you look at the performances of the governments of the past, if you go to the First Republic, if you look at what Awolowo did there in the southwest, Yoruba land, you appreciate the beauty of visionary leadership.
Barrister Richard, looking at what the president has done, have you not been seeing, have you seen the looters list? Have you not been seeing people hide monies under everywhere, snake, rooftops and the rest? Is it not showing that the president is really fighting corruption and that's why people are against him?
Well, there is nothing wrong in recovering looted funds, but the point I want to underline is that fighting corruption is not an economic policy. Fighting corruption is not that. Even Abacha fought corruption.
I'm going to hold you on there, please, again, and you come back to you. We have a caller. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Laguda from Yaba.
Laguda.
I want to simply institute my mind as regards the issue of the certificate of the presidency. You see, the issue of the presidency certificate does not really require much stress, as most Nigerians are becoming of it. I want us to know, on the contrary, that there is no way you can be instituted as a general or you can be implemented in the military era without a definite certified document. So if the issue of politics has been instituted into this matter, I think the inaccessibility or irresponsibility should be taken to the military as a whole. Leave the president out of the matter. The president, is in the political system, and you will not be able to understand the plight already within the military and the democracy. So there are some people already, even in the military, that they are enemies to this president already. He has served in the civil service, of course, and contrary to the fact that there is discipline in that service, the bigger head, the bigger tools. So it means we have to face some crisis from that area. But let me be very short and very persistent. Where I'm going is, I have never and I will never believe that President Buhari cannot optimize the mind of the Nigerians. Because President Buhari, as an institution himself, I'm not saying the government, quote me now, he himself is an institution who has gone through the civil service, who has also been in the political era. Please, my brother, we should look for a way to amend matters without criticizing the social activities of the nation.
Okay, I wanted to ask
Leave Wari
Laguda.
as a person.
I wanted to ask
We love him. Let him do what he is doing at hand. Leave criticism out of his system. Yes, he has not been able to meet up many legislative demands of the people, to codify, to prosecute, to do this, to that, of those who must have looted the national fund. But please, my brother, we are still telling you.
Okay,
it is the water that we all must
Laguda,
drink
thank
inside.
you for calling.
Thank you.
Laguda,
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question.
All right.
The implications of the executives and the legislators, the conflicts on governance. What do you think we need to do?
You see, hello?
Yes.
The executives and the legislators, right from the beginning, you would not merge them together because these are different pots from different makers. So you will not expect not.
Okay, I hope you call back. I hope we will call in so that we can talk about the first-team relationship they are having right now. Yes, you heard
briefly,
what
I just want
the caller said.
I just want to draw his attention to one simple fact. You see, when he was talking about loving the president, everybody loves the president, but I personally hate his actions.
Okay.
I love the president. As our president, I love him very, very much. But for the decisions he has taken over the years, I have every reason to reject that because I consider it repulsive and abusive of the constitutional provisions. The Constitution does not give him right to appoint Fulani people to head all the security agencies. He does not have that constitutional power. And that, as far as I know, it's an impeachable offense under the Constitution. But let me also draw the attention of the last speaker. He is saying that the president is doing well. I don't blame him. But you see, the only thing I want him to advert his mind to is when he goes back to his own village during the Christmas and there is a football match going on, I want him to assume in his mindset that everybody in that audience happens to be killed by Fulani herdsmen, including his own parents. Let him, after that incident, let him come, because in Agatu, 700 and something people were killed in one night. And up to today, there has not been any comment from the presidency. In Enugu, Taraba, and some other jurisdictions, killings are still going on. And they are saying that the president is doing very well. I have nothing against people holding views that are personal to them. But what I'm saying is that these are yardsticks. The provision of security and the welfare of the people are the cardinal principles, the essence of governance. If the president cannot provide security, then what is the essence of governance?
But have you not heard President talked about these killings? But I will come back. We have a caller. Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you again. Please, what I want to say is it is very, very important. The constitution makes it clear for them to respect themselves and respect their office. But I'm seeing presidency accusing the Senate unnecessarily, they calling them names, criticizing them. You don't want someone to criticize you, but why are you criticizing the other people of the government? It is very, very bad, disgraceful. And I like our president to be fluently speaking. You know, I love Buhari very well. I so much like him, but it's only his followers. But I like the president, our president, when he's speaking, I'll be proud of him. The way he speaks in hours, not 1 second, not 2 seconds. You know, please, the youth should make effort. And he said that he's making the youth that they should postpone their this until 2019. But he doesn't put it in that bill. It's not in that bill. I mean, the youth can still go on and do it. Why is he making it? Because at the beginning, he regretted of his age of being in the office that he wished the young guy. That means that is not of his standard. You know, please, Nigeria belongs to all of us. Thank you
so much. I read that story was just a joke, saying that they should postpone their... It was just a joke. He said it. You know, when you're attending to people, you want to crack 1 or 2 jokes. But it doesn't mean that the youth cannot contest come 2019. Yes, let's continue.
Well, I've just made my position clear. I am saying that the inability of the government to provide security for Nigerians is also impeachable.
Okay,
the reason being that these killings have been serial, and what is painful is that those that are engineering the killings have been coming out openly to say why they are doing the killings, and no arrest has been made. And people are telling me that this is a democracy. We have a democracy that has no respect for human lives, no respect for constitutional provisions, and that is consistently abusive of the provisions of the law. That is not democracy.
Barrister, you made mention the Constitution. Now coming back into the Constitution and the Senate again, Omar Agege, after the drama, he got suspended by the House. But later on, the court ruled that they don't have the power to suspend him, so he was back in the House. Does this mean that these lawmakers don't even know the law?
No, you see, that they are looking at the constitutional provisions, and I tell you, whether that provision, I'm a constitutional lawyer, whether that provision is clearly stated in the law or in the Senate rules, there is no organization in the world that does not have the ancillary powers to suspend its members.
So they were wrong about it. Is that what you're saying?
They have the powers to suspend.
They have the powers.
They have the powers. Even if the powers are not constitutionally provided for under the laws, it should be implied. And I am happy that the matter has been contested on appeal.
Okay, but looking at this particular matter, I don't know, a lawyer will come here and tell you is in the Constitution and quote a section of the Constitution supporting them not going ahead. And you are saying it's in the Constitution that they have right to suspend a senator. Looking at all of these incidences in our Constitution, do you think there's a lacuna in that Constitution?
I don't think there is a lacuna. There is provisions for implied powers. The doctrine of necessity is not provided for in the Constitution. These are implied powers. If you are operating a constitutional democracy, there are powers that are implied to the Constitution. These things are things that are subject to the interpretation of the courts. And if, like they have done at the court of first instance, I expect that the matter should go on appeal, and I am aware that the issue is being contested on appeal. So we'll see an appellate interpretation to that. But the fact remains that it would be ridiculous to create an institution and say that the institution does not have powers to suspend people for erring or for behaviors that the entire house or the entire unit, considers recalcitrant. I think
there's another caller. We'll allow you, Anthony, but let's get this caller. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, I would like to contribute to the discussion that's going on.
Go ahead.
What I want to say here is that it's quite unfortunate that Nigeria has found itself in a one-chance kind of political situation with the coming on of the APC government. From the beginning till now, Nigerians have suffered untold hardship, unwarranted disappointment. People are being killed here and there all over the country, and the government is like they are in full support of what's going on, as if it is the handwriting of the killers are acting out the scripts written down by the government. The harassment of the Senate is quite unfortunate by the executive from time to time. Manaya's case is a pointer. And I want to say here that, in fact, Nigeria is like a spilled bean. Unless God comes down and does something, Nigeria is like a spilled bean. It's like a pot of soup thrown to the sandy floor. I don't know who can save Nigeria now. We are in a serious mess. We are in a serious dilemma. In fact, we are in trouble.
Okay.
Only God can save Nigeria right now. Thank you very much.
I think both of us will save Nigeria. You and I will save this country. But I'm looking at all the events. You heard what this other caller
He said Nigeria is in serious trouble. That is being very charitable. We are in an absolute mess. Political governance is about culture, about finesse. And what we have here is the exact opposite.
Have you seen the looters list? Have you seen?
I'm just coming. It's not a question of you don't find corruption on the pages of the newspaper. The leadership of EFCC was indicted by an organ of the presidency, by the DSS. And they gave reasons why Magu should not be retained as the head. And in any political dispensation all over the world, once there is a rejection, that terminates the entire process. Today we have Magu is still acting as the head of EFCC. It is an abuse of constitutional democracy. It's an abuse of the culture of politics. It shows absolute disregard and insensitivity to the culture of politics. It shows lack of finesse. So when an organ of the presidency, an organ that is working directly on the presidency, indicts an individual, the presidency said the person should not be relieved of his appointment. You recommended that the person be confirmed. The Senate says no. That terminates the entire process.
No, could it be because of the relationship, because of the events with the Senate and the executive? That's what we're discussing today.
I've told you that the security apparatus is in the hands of the Fulani people. That is what is playing out. The problem we have in Nigeria is that people are scared of saying the truth. And it's very, very unfortunate. Okay. I don't belong to that class. If anything happens to me, Jesus Christ died at 30-something. Martin Luther wasn't up to 50.
Okay, let's get this caller. Let's get this call. Hello,
so
good morning.
So people should learn how to be forthright.
Good morning.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, I want to make one point. If our president had the giver openly to say for 10 years, he doesn't see what the Senate are doing, what the assemblies are doing. Can an educated or non-educated person make that type of a statement? He does not know what the Senate, they have been signing bills and said to him, and he has been telling, and he tells the world that they are not doing anything. It's a big embarrass.
Okay.
It's a disgrace.
Okay.
We should find a way to solve our problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that all of this is not happening because of the president, senator, the president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, has a case to answer. Some of them have cases to answer. So it might just be a battlefront, trying to save my head. If you try me, because we've seen in places where even the IG was invited, it didn't turn up, maybe because of that relationship. That's what we're looking at today, the implications of all of this Saul relationship.
Some lawyers also are canvassing. I remember I read one of the press releases made by Femi Falana where he said that they don't have the right to summon the Inspector General of Police. I of course, naturally disagree with that position. That the powers of the Senate cannot be fettered by anybody. They have the right to invite anybody. Constitutionally. They have the right to invite anybody to appear before them, especially the heads of some of these organizations. They have the right. That is an oversight function. The oversight function does not end at the ministerial level. Even if, like he relied on those sections of the Constitution that talked about heads of ministries and all that, there is an implied provision to that. That if you can summon the headmaster of a school, are you telling me that you cannot summon a teacher? If you can discipline the headmaster of a school, are you telling me that you cannot discipline a teacher in that school? It's implied that the Senate has unfettered discretion when it comes to the issue of summoning people to appear.
You've not answered me. Could it be because the Senate had court cases to answer and that's why they want to make the executive very uncomfortable? But there's a caller here. Hello, good morning to you. Okay, you just call us back. Okay, would that be the reason why this is happening?
Well, I do not think so, and I've said it repeatedly that when you don't look at some of these cases in isolation, there is a backdrop, and that backdrop is what propels the actions people will take. When you are charging people in the Senate for corruption, and there are a lot of people in your immediate cabinet have been indicted and no action is being taken against them, that justifies the level of vehemence in terms of resistance that is coming out from both from the Senate and from the general populace. And I will tell you, if Senator Saraki, I'm assuming, I'm not considering that fact, I'm assuming that, let us assume that Senator Saraki has failed to declare his assets that he owns half of Lagos. That offense, that alleged offense, and the murdering, the killing of 750 people in Agatu in one night, which one do you think is more serious? Which one do you think the state should deploy its resources in challenging? Especially when the killings are becoming serial in nature. Which one do you think? Let me tell you, the federal government is spending the resources of this state chasing shadows. That's what they're doing. Chasing Dino Malay, chasing. The government is deploying the resources, the scarce resources it has, in chasing absolute shadows. When I mean shadow chasing, that's what the government is doing.
Okay, Anthony, you wanted to
going back to the Senate, we know that Dino Malay is known for his outburst. And recently, he has been taking, well, over time, he has been taking swipes at Kwara State Governor Yaya Bello. In one of his swipes, he did a comic video. As a matter of fact, he has been doing lots of comic videos, throwing swipes at the governor. Would you say that that's the right way, as a lawmaker, that's supposed to be expressing some kind of official body language? Would you say that that is a good way to go?
But you've just said it's comical. It's comical in nature. I think it's a comical relief. But what are the issues you are going to look at is the fact that there was a recall process that failed maximally. What it means is that the people in his constituents are solidly behind him. That's the interpretation of that exercise. And of course, like I have said, a lot of resources are being deployed in hounding people under this present regime. That is what is playing out. Every day you look at Saraki does this, Saraki does that. People have been killed. The members of the Miyetti came out on air to say that we did this retaliation because of this. No arrests have been made. We're talking about murder, for God's sake. And you're telling us that somebody failed to declare his assets, that somebody did not declare this, that somebody, and we now say that some people did not present their school certificate. You said no.
Okay, maybe
so
we get the reports in the house.
select the issues you address and the ones you don't address. Some people spend millions cutting grass. You say that is not a crime.
Okay, let's get this report and we'll be right back. We'll get this report from the house yesterday.
Last week, the president in the presidential villa, while addressing a delegation of the Buhari campaign organization, said he doesn't know what we are doing in the National Assembly. He said that some of us have been in the National Assembly for over 10 years and we have nothing to show for it. And I felt this statement, Mr. President, is not only unpresidential, but it's an assault on my person and the institution of the National Assembly, where I am proudly a member. Mr. President, such derogatory statements and insult on the National Assembly should not be allowed to go unnoticed. So I want to say that the National Assembly has been carrying out our functions in accordance to the provisions of the 1999 Constitution and all our extant laws. So I want to call that Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari for using this unparliamentary, unpresidential, unconstitutional language on the National Assembly, apologize to the National Assembly. I call on him to apologize to the National Assembly for using such a language, and that is where most of the appointees draw their inspiration from. That is why they disregard this National Assembly and even refuse to accept summons.
This happened yesterday, and you see again what we're talking about. And we're looking at governance, looking at the electorate watching this happen in the House, where the Senate will accuse, the legislators accuses the executives are making their own statement. And looking at governance, will this not have effect of governance in this country? How are we going to move forward?
I think, you see, we must have to appreciate the fact that these comments are very weighty. And as a political leader, you have to weigh your utterances. And that is why you remember the episode of when they started raise the issue of Nigerian youth not being very lazy, tactically lazy, the way it was,
coined, because that was not what he said.
Yes, the way it was coined. We are looking at the effect. If you had the privilege of listening to the submissions made by Obi Ezekwesili on the effect of the...
I would like to know that submission, but let's just quickly get this caller. Yes, good morning to you.
Hello? What is there that the really thing that are happening in Nigeria is because there's a lawlessness. And wherever there's a lawlessness, there's a... And you can see what is happening to Malaye. You can see what is happening to IPOP. IPOP did not do anything, they are not carrying on. But they can see what is happening to S-men. So we need a nation or a government that will rule from the head to the toe, not special people. I pray that for Nigeria, that God Almighty will the anger of God will not come upon Nigeria.
It will not come.
Level Lord.
Thank you so much. I think we have to, that's going to be the last caller. We don't have much time. Thank you so much for calling. But the anger of the Lord will not come upon us. We need his mercy. Yes. Well, you are telling us about...
I was talking about comments from the presidency.
And also...
And what Obia's question, that the recession was caused as a result of the actions and inactions and the body language of the president. She narrowed it down. So there are things, when you go outside the country and you spend all your energy marketing your nation, you don't expect to have windfalls and positive results in terms of inflow of investments. So we are saying, even the comment made about Nigerian youths being lazy is also a demarketing strategy. So this is naturally have very, very heavy and negative.
But he
impact.
never made that comment.
Listen,
we have to say that.
Listen,
he didn't make the comment.
Listen, he did not use the word the way it is. I said it.
Yes.
But you look at what he said. The fact is that when you are not hardworking and you are indolent, are you not lazy? When you sit down in your house, you are not doing anything and you are waiting for oil money. Are you enterprising? So people should have, whether you go to Enugu through by road or through the airport, it doesn't make sense. What we are saying is that if you end up in Enugu, you have made the journey. The journey he made, the summary of it all is that the youths are indolent, they are lazy, they are not articulate, and they are not enterprising.
But Barrister, you know that Nigerian youth are not lazy.
Of course,
so people just form that one.
It's
we're not lazy.
It's beyond contention. That is why I'm saying that there is a big gulf. There is a big disconnect between the leadership and the followership. In other jurisdictions, of course, if anytime you open CNN, you see past presidents, serving presidents in the United States, moving into malls, going into companies, asking questions, interacting with laborers, finding out what is going on. Let me tell you one thing that is happening in Nigeria. Go to all these foreign companies owned by Chinese and other. Go and look at the conveniences in these places. I will tell you that if you go there, you can't stay a second. These things are designed to make Nigerians uncomfortable in some of these companies. You see, it is the responsibility of the government to perforate the system. We talk about Boko Haram. Are you telling me that the government does not have the resources to invade the Boko Haram hierarchy? If you go to the CIA today, there are 15-year-olds in the Central American Intelligence Unit. The reason is that if they want to if they want to break into a criminal gang that is made up of 10-year-olds, they have people in that age limit to go into that. We must be proactive. Okay, you don't wait. You don't wait until you are swallowed. Governance is about vision, about political will, about the capability, the capacity, and the drive to deliver. This present government is a failure.
As regards vision, like you said.
Are you saying that they've not done anything? Well, you go ahead, but you have to answer one. I want you to answer his question.
If it's possible for me,
have you said they've not done anything?
If it's possible for me,
coming from you, Barrister,
I will take the APC in Lagos minus land use charge.
That means they've done something.
I will take the APC in Lagos and put them in Abuja and dislodge the entire Abuja APC.
Okay, after this question, we have to wrap up now.
Way forward, taking the country forward. What should our leaders be looking at? What vision should they be looking at?
Vision is your ability to see tomorrow. When Kennedy said the Americans are going to go to the moon, his parents didn't go there. Nobody went there before him. But he came out and found out that, look, this is an opportunity. And you know the windfall that came from there, including the GSM we are operating today. Leadership is about your ability to see tomorrow. If you cannot see tomorrow, what are you doing?
We need to wrap up now. Barrister, we need to wrap up this edition of the program. We want to thank Barrister Richard Nwankwo, President, Founder, Crusade for Justice. Thank you for coming on this edition.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, we'll go on this break. We'll be right back.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed, now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
Welcome back. Well, the sports, maybe I should just say this, is the sports guys are not here, but I can talk more. I know that tomorrow Super Eagles will meet tomorrow. They'll be playing with England at the Wembley Stadium at 5:30 p.m. I know that most sports lovers will not want to miss that match. I won't miss it. Anthony,
Yes,
we're going to be here together. We will be here together, so we're going to watch that. I'm forcing him to love football.
Well, to an extent, I begin to love football in as much as I prefer basketball. But as a journalist, you have to, dive into all of these things.
So you love basketball?
Yeah.
You like a dunk? You want a dunk?
Yes.
I used to like basketball. I used to like Magic Johnson and Jordan.
I wish the Super Eagles good luck. I hope that they make Nigeria proud.
Well, I just pray that tomorrow they will just make us see something that we're going to see at the World Cup. I want to see them play well tomorrow.
They will.
They have to play with all their spirit, soul, and body.
They have been preparing.
Okay, we also have another one coming tomorrow. The Castina United will be meeting with Enugu Rangers, and that's for the local scene. And weekend is just full, so get yourself ready this weekend and enjoy yourself. When it comes to sports, I'm going to watch all that, and on a Monday, I'll be here. We'll be here to tell you more on that. But we must wrap up this edition of the program today. Yeah, but let me start from Anthony.
Well, basically, I understand that leadership is by example. By the time it's not just about putting in laws and policies and the likes. By the time you tend to understand that it's about the people leading forward, the welfare and security of your people, then we'll begin to move the country forward. Well, I just have to say that Nigerians out there, be hopeful and make sure you strive for a better future. I am Anthony Musaibu. Please do have yourself a good weekend. Meanwhile, tomorrow by 3 o'clock, tune in to Superscreen TV.
Okay, well, that's from Anthony. We said what we did today, the implications of the executives and the legislative. Having this conflict is not good enough for democracy. But it's good. They can reject based on constitutions, but I don't want this bad balloting to come in. We must make sure that the right things are done, and we must make sure that our leaders are leading up to expectations. But we, the electorate, also have a role to play. We don't heat up polity. What we need to do is contribute and advise them rightly without being biased. I am Vera Osopo. What I do every time on Friday is to thank everybody, and I'm going to be doing that just right away. I want to thank the MCR crew this morning. Thank you for being fantastic all through the week, and I want to thank the assistant producers of this program. I want to thank KG for me. We have another person in now. I want to thank forgotten. She just came in. Maybe I'll remember next week. I won't say the name. And I want to thank also the camera department. Thank you so much, the producer, Anya Nanaba. And I'm going to be thanking Blessed is not here today. Thank you so much for making this program a beautiful one. And especially our executive director has been on it every minute. He's been part of this edition. I want to thank Mr. Ike Osozua. Thank you so much for helping us grow. Well, it's a weekend and Super Screen Television. I usually say this also, that we are ready for you this weekend. Loads of entertainment, loads of information. Starting from today, movies are there for you. You won't regret being part of the station this weekend. It's going to be a very interesting one. Well, keep watching Super Screen Television. I am Vera Osopo. By God's grace, we're going to be here with our team next week, Monday. Be good and enjoy yourself.